Folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Another escalation going on over with Russia, Ukraine, Putin, the West, NATO, United States. And we've been seeing this slowly escalate just over the last few days alone, with the increase of attacks inside Ukraine by Russia, knocking out a lot of their power grid and infrastructure. And then the retaliatory actions of Ukraine, at least that's what we're being told. I mean, we don't know, but hey, we're just going with it, right? Where they have been launching drones into Russia, and they've struck a Russian air base at least 3 different times, damaging some strategic bombers, killing a few Russian soldiers, doing some other damage, and it just keeps escalating. And today we have another escalation. This one, I kind of felt like we'd make a whole video of it because it seems to be that it could be sending some signals of what may be yet to come, because many of you that have been following this from the beginning kind of feel like there's about only one way for this to end, and that's going to be in a very large-scale, broad-spanning war between us and Russia, and very possibly have a nuclear component to that. And so that's pretty much what's being talked about today. Apparently, Putin spoke and gave a little speech, and that's what we're mostly focusing on today. Here's the Daily Mail out of the United Kingdom. Putin says risk of nuclear war is rising, but insists Moscow has not gone mad. I love the Western media. They have to focus on that. In a televised message with officials who were warned not to be upset, not to upset him with tough questions about the Ukraine war. There's always, every side has a spin to it, but there's more to what he said. Zero Hedge goes into a little bit more detail about what was said, and that's, to me, is where we should focus. Number one, Putin said that Russia does not have tactical nuclear weapons in other countries, unlike the U.S. So, again, he's shifting blame over to the United States of saying, hey, we may have a huge nuclear arsenal, but our arsenal is here at home, whereas the United States houses a lot of our nukes, in other places, the Pacific Ocean, all over the European Union, excuse me. Depending on, a lot of it we don't know the details, but there are definitely nukes in Europe that are the United States that we have because of our alliance with NATO. He makes a point of saying that their nuclear forces are the most advanced in the world. And while some of you may argue with that and say, oh, no, the United States has the best. We're the biggest and best military. We may have a more advanced military, but we certainly do not have a more advanced nuclear force. And Russia probably does have the most advanced. If you start looking and doing your digging around in military history recent in the last few decades, we kind of stopped really advancing our nuclear forces probably in the 1980s. There's certainly been some technological development since then, but not in mass. We mostly shifted our focus on strategic development of special operations units, and Russia has continued to develop some pretty high-tech nuclear weapons. And a lot of ours, they're getting kind of antiquated. So Putin is right in that. Now, here's the thing. Putin warned that there is a risk of nuclear war in the world is rising. So he's letting everyone know that this risk of potential nuclear war is on a high. It's going up, folks. Of course, yes, he did say Russia hasn't gone mad. This is the point that I wanted to get to, all the way down here. He says, we will defend ourselves with all the means at our disposal. And this is something that I've thought and felt and even said all along, that getting into a war with Russia, the only hope that we have of potentially defeating Russia stopping this is by just kind of the same way we did back in World War II, is we just outproduce them. That economically we just grow beyond their capabilities. And while it worked 70 some years ago, there's no guarantee that it's going to work today, because Russia, while they're not in a perfect economic state, they're not in a terrible one, and they're actually pretty strong. They have low amount of debt. They have been becoming a fairly prosperous nation within itself. And then at the same time, the United States, as we have stated many times recently, is really weakening when it comes to our economic capabilities. We are up beyond the eyeballs in debt. The amount of mishandling of our finances is just overwhelming, and at the same time, our military has been becoming weaker and weaker because of various different reasons. And so, for us to be able to out commerce them, let's say, I don't know that that's a possibility. And so, if this war goes into a kinetic war, a physical altercation between us and Putin and Russia, I don't really know that there's any way to end it other than nuclear, because of how Russia looks at war and how they fight. It's very different. Here we are with winter settling in, especially over in Europe and Russia, and we would be looking at a ground war in the wintertime against Russia, which I'm quite confident in saying that they are much more capable of a war like that. We have been, it's been a good thing, I guess, but we have had the opportunity to fight wars that we could win easily because of our technology, okay? And even though we didn't technically win over in Afghanistan, and I guess you could call Iraq a win, even though Iraq is still in shambles, we were in places that our technology and small strategic groups could actually benefit the situation. We could prevail in places like that. A war with Russia, it's not going to be that way. There needs to be large ground forces capable of handling wars like this. And that's not something that we really have anymore. We haven't trained in that way for a long time. And we certainly haven't trained fighting against a nuclear power, which is what Russia is. And so here we have Putin today making some very serious threats, very serious, that Russia, if needed, to protect themselves, that they will use all means necessary. And that's a pretty big all means necessary, because, again, they have quite the nuclear arsenal. They have a lot of small tactical nukes. They have large nukes. They have the delivery capabilities that we do not have. In fact, a lot of experts believe that Russia could probably drop a nuke on us just about before we even knew it was happening, because they have technology that's more advanced than ours when it comes to their delivery systems. This is something that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about. And with what is happening right now, we're probably closer to midnight on the nuclear clock than we've ever been ever before. I'm not an expert, and I can't say for certain, but when you look at what's happened in the past, and going back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, how close we were then, this very well could be even closer. There's a big buildup of troops in Poland, and it looks like, now I don't know this for certain, but it looks like that Poland is going to be the place where most of our troops are funneled through, because there's a big buildup there on the border between Poland and Ukraine. And we have several thousand troops there already. And we have several thousand troops in Romania already, not to mention the troops up in Germany and other places. So there is definitely a buildup for war. And the comments today from Putin indicate that that's what they're expecting, that they are expecting a real war with the United States and NATO. And, there was another report today that some heavy artillery, heavy armaments had arrived to Ukraine from South Korea. I've heard reports of about 9 different countries having troops and equipment in Poland. So there is an allied sort of forces that's being built. And it would be, I think it would be foolish to say that this is just being done for precautionary measures. I think it's pretty certain that this is being done as a precursor to war. And that's probably the reason why things have been drawn out the way that they are, so that it gives us in the West enough time to build up their forces ready for a war with Russia. I'm not saying that we could easily win it. I'm not saying that we're going to lose, but because I think that either way, a war with Russia is going to be a bloody mess. And it's not something that I don't think any American should look forward to. So this is just another really big thing that we need to be preparing for, because even if you don't expect to go to war, it's still going to affect us here. And for those of you that have younger people in your life, it's quite possible that we could be seeing some type of conscription because of this. The amount of people signing up in the military is at an all-time low. They cannot get recruits. They're begging people. They're offering all kinds of things to get people to sign up, and no one's doing it. And so if we end up in a war with Russia, they're going to need people. They're going to need bodies, and where are they going to get them if no one's signing up? Well, they're going to start a draft. So, and there's been indication, little whispers of that officially. So there's a lot of stuff going on. It's definitely going to be a real mess if this kicks off. So, folks, get your houses in order. Get ready for this. This is one of the things why we prepare. A World War III scenario is not a very good scenario, especially for us in the state that we're in as a nation. It could completely cripple us. I know some believe that it could bring us together and strengthen us, and yes, that's a possibility. But it could also greatly weaken us, and it could open the door for other nations to take their hits at us as they see us down. And if that happens, that means that we're not just fighting Russia or maybe even China. We're fighting multiple fronts against multiple people. And statistically, the numbers, the research shows that we are not capable of fighting a war in that way. So get ready, folks. Get your houses in order. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.